Hello, and welcome to Investment Insight, your clear take on the markets. Let's get started. We pulled apart the source material this week, and the results were, well, they're almost diametrically opposed in terms of focus and scale. Our mission today is to synthesize all this, covering two radically different global shifts, and pull out the actionable knowledge you need.
That's really the challenge of this deep dive. On one hand, you've got Amazon. They're focused on micro-efficiency, shaving milliseconds off delivery times. It's pure margin defense through robotics.
Engineering problem, basically.
Exactly. And on the other side, we've got the government of India initiating this huge politically charged energy overhaul, the Shanti Bill.
Okay.
And it's designed to reallocate catastrophic financial risk, all to attract massive private investment for nuclear power. It's a foundational policy problem.
It's a fascinating contrast. Let's start with Amazon because the philosophy driving their robotics is really key to understanding where all their capital's going. Let's unpack this whole function first idea.
What's so interesting here is the ruthless pragmatism. Ty Brady, who heads up Amazon Robotics, he just keeps hammering home this mantra, form follows function.
Right.
They are not in the race to build the next flashy humanoid robot just because competitors are doing it or
because it looks great in a promo video.
Exactly. If you look at the field, there's this global chase for artificial general intelligence, for AGI, to build robots that look and act like us.
Yeah.
Amazon is deliberately stepping back from that.
And why? What's the core reason to just ignore that trend?
Because that trend is still highly speculative. It's incredibly capital intensive. And the ROI, the return on investment, just isn't proven for a tight margin business like logistics.
So they define the problem first.
Yes. They look at the warehouse and say, what's the problem? Reaching, sorting, lifting. And then they find the safest, cheapest, most scalable tool to solve that specific function.
And the easiest way to explain that for you at home is what we're calling the dishwasher analogy. When you look at the problem of dirty dishes, you don't solve it by building a super expensive robot with complex vision that has to, grasp a sponge like a human.
Or a good box.
You build a simple, scalable system, the dishwasher, that solves the function of cleaning dishes efficiently and safely over and over again.
And translating that for an investor, this strategy is a direct defense of their balance sheet. By avoiding the multi-billion-dollar capex on these general-purpose humanoids, Amazon focuses its capital where the ROI is immediate.
On things like sorting, conveying, advanced picking.
Right. They're prioritizing reliability and margin over tech that's cutting edge, but, still really risky.
This focus has led to what the data is calling the new automation triad. And these aren't just like cool individual gadgets. The material from the Delivering the Future event shows how they optimize the entire system, from the fulfillment center all the way to your front door.
It's a whole system approach. It's designed to attack variability at every single layer of the operation.
Okay, let's start with component one, wearable AI. These smart delivery glasses, internally known as Amelia.
Amelia is all about standardizing the last mile. That's always the most expensive, most variable part of any delivery.
Because you're dealing with traffic, different houses, People,
exactly. So the smart glasses, they handle navigation, they scan packages, they take the proof of delivery photos automatically. By taking away those small, repetitive tasks, the driver's hands are free.
And the sources claim this could save up to 30 minutes per shift.
Which sounds small, but you multiply that by millions of deliveries a day. That's pure margin.
Pure margin defense. Okay, so that's the last mile. Let's move into the warehouse with component two, agentic AI. This is Project Illuna. What is a cognitive teammate?
So traditionally, an operations manager is always in firefighting mode.
Right.
Alarms go off, bottlenecks form, and they're manually moving people and robots around to fix it.
They're reacting.
They are reacting. Illuna flips that. It acts as a predictive teammate. It doesn't just manage the robots. It analyzes all the operational data in real time, modeling the flow of everything.
So it's not waiting for the fire alarm to ring.
No. It predicts a bottleneck. It might say, hey, in 4 hours, this order is going to be overwhelmed, and then it recommends where to place people and robots before it becomes a problem.
That's huge. And the research mentioned a pilot for the 2025 holiday season, which is, that's the ultimate stress test.
That's targeting peak efficiency right when demand stress is at its absolute highest.
Okay, and finally, component three is a physical robot, the picking arm called Blue Jay. This one surprised me. What's its function? Why is it so critical for, say, same-day delivery?
Blue Jay is built for the worst jobs. The highest burden, most repetitive, most injury-prone tasks, reaching high, lifting, sorting in these really tight spaces. For ultra-fast delivery, You have to maintain insane throughput, but you also have to keep workers safe. If Blue Jay handles that high variability picking and reduces injury claims, it directly protects your labor cost structure.
And that brings us to, I think, a really key insight from the material, the importance of exception handling.
This is the core insight for investors. We love to talk about 99% efficiency, but in logistics, that last 1% of errors costs a fortune.
Right.
Think about one misrouted package, a confusing label, a conveyor jams for a second. That one error doesn't just delay one customer's order. It can take 4 human hours of management time to track down and fix.
And that uncertainty just destroys your service level agreements, your SLAs?
Completely. So these tools, they're not just about boosting the average speed. They're about reducing variability. They're about cutting the management costs of uncertainty. They are ensuring the flow.
Defending that SLA promise.
Exactly. The tech is basically a hedge against complexity.
Which brings us to the big labor debate. Brady from Amazon insists this is augmentation, not replacement. Robots do the heavy lifting, humans do the thinking.
Yeah, that's the official line, for sure.
Mm.
But the practical investor metric to watch here is something called employment elasticity.
Okay, let's slow down. Define that for us. What is employment elasticity here?
It's a measure of how much your workforce has to grow to support, say, a 1% increase in revenue.
Right.
Historically, as Amazon's revenue grew, they had to hire a corresponding number of people. Amazon wants to shrink that ratio. They want revenue to rocket up while the rate of hiring slows way down.
Reducing the labor cost per item shipped.
That is the ultimate metric. That's what hits the long-term valuation.
And tied to that, we see this huge commitment. $2.5 billion to upskill 50 million people through their Future Ready 2030 initiative.
And that investment, it should not be seen as just, a corporate social responsibility message. It's not just ESG fluff.
It's strategic.
It is essential operational infrastructure. As automation takes over, roles change. You're not just a box mover anymore. You're a technician, a maintenance specialist, or an ops manager working with an AI like a Luna.
So the risk isn't just a layoff, it's that you get mass turnover or conflict if the existing workforce feels like they can't keep up with the new roles.
That's it, exactly. If they don't manage that friction, the whole automation push could fail because they don't have the skilled people to run it. It's a strategic investment in making sure the whole system actually works.
That is a powerful look at managing micro risk to defend margins. So now, let's make that pivot we talked about. We're going from fighting for microseconds to a government re-engineering its entire legal framework to secure power for a nation. India's huge energy gamble and the Shanti Bill.
This is a monumental shift. The Shanti Bill, approved on December 18th, it officially ends the state's monopoly on nuclear power that's been in place since 1962.
A 60-year monopoly. Gone.
Gone. And the goal is breathtaking. India wants to increase its nuclear capacity tenfold. They want to go from around 8.8 gigawatts today to 100 gigawatts by 2047.
And there's just no way to do that without private capital.
No way. And to understand why now, why this massive shift, you have to see these 3 pressures all converging at once. First, exploding demand.
Industrialization, urbanization.
Data centers, all driving relentless energy demand. And they need baseload power, 247 power, not just when the sun is shining.
Which leads to the second pressure, right? Climate goals.
Correct. India needs to cut its coal dependency to hit its 2070 net zero target. Solar and wind are great, but they're intermittent. Nuclear provides that stable 24-hour power an industrializing economy needs.
And the third pressure is just the money, the funding gap.
Precisely. The capital needed for this is in the tens of billions of dollars. Government budgets can't cover that alone. The sources are clear on this, citing giants like Tata, Adani, and Reliance as being ready to jump in, but only if the financial conditions are right.
Which brings us to the absolute heart of the bill, liability reform. Because opening the market means nothing if the risk is paralyzing.
Think of it like trying to get insurance for a project. For years, private capital was scared away because the old system had this open-ended liability.
What does that mean, open-ended?
It means if there was a severe accident, the financial liability didn't just stop with the operator. It could go all the way up the supply chain to the companies that sold the pumps, the valves.
So a company in the U.S. that sold one part could, in theory, be on the hook for a catastrophe 50 years later.
And that paralyzing risk made these projects uninsurable. And if you can't insure it, you can't finance it.
So what does the Shanti Bill do?
It puts a hard-defined cap on the operator's responsibility. For the big projects, that cap is around 3,000 crore.
And anything above that number.
That's where the state backstop kicks in. The government fund, the Treasury, absorbs all costs above that cap. It moves the catastrophic open-ended risk from the private company to the state, to the taxpayer.
So, if I'm hearing this right, the government is essentially privatizing the potential profit while socializing the potential catastrophe risk.
That is the absolute core of the controversy here. This shift is essential to get investment, but it immediately raises huge questions about victim compensation versus corporate incentives.
What's the main argument from the critics?
They argue that the 3,000 crore cap is just. It's unrealistically low compared to the costs of a Chernobyl or a Fukushima. The policy, undeniably, shifts that catastrophic risk from corporations to the taxpayer in order to incentivize growth. The debate isn't if they need the power, but who pays if the worst happens.
And for a global investor, what does this controversy mean? Does it add risk?
It creates significant regulatory and reputational risk, social debate, political pushback. All of that has to be factored into your project timeline and your valuation. If the politics shift, your project costs can escalate, regardless of the liability cap.
So if we connect this to the big picture, the investment opportunity here is way bigger than just building reactors.
Oh, absolutely. The Shanti Bill creates a whole new investment ecosystem. You're looking at the entire supply chain, power infrastructure, massive grid development, long-term power purchase agreements, the PPAs, and of course the financial services sector itself.
So the key takeaway for you, the investor, is to watch not just which global technology enters the market, but more importantly, which Indian industrial groups secure those local partnerships.
Those are the gatekeepers. The Tatas, the Adanas, the Reliances of the world. They will determine the control, the negotiating power, and the pace of this massive opportunity.
So we've covered two totally different approaches to managing risk. Amazon defending its margins by reducing variability with functional AI, and India reallocating catastrophic risk to unlock national energy growth.
So here's a final provocative thought for you to consider. If automation, like Amazon's, succeeds in dramatically shrinking the required workforce for logistics, improving that employment elasticity, how will governments respond to the political need for mass retraining? And how does that public challenge mirror what we see in India, where the government is shouldering the ultimate social cost through liability reform to drive private investment?
In both cases, the government is left managing the social cost of technological and economic progress, something to mull over as you watch these markets evolve. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button.